welcome back for another video, or welcome if you're new. My name is Brittany Marie, and for today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a step-by-step tutorial on how to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dipbrow Pomade. So if you guys want to see my step-by-step in real time tutorial on how to use this product, then first make sure that you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and then make sure you are subscribed to my channel as well. More videos are coming, so you definitely don't want to miss out. But again, if you guys want to see this step-by-step eyebrow tutorial, then stay tuned. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and take my Anastasia Beverly Hills Dipbrow Pomade and then my angled brush. And I feel like the key to using this product is, of course, starting with as light a hand as possible. You don't want to really drag the product or dip your brush in there like too heavy, or you're going to end up with a ton of product. And it's going to be really hard to come back from that, especially with this product being so pigmented. So you just literally want to take your brush and like lightly tap it in there, and then that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and I like to start by outlining my brow, starting at the bottom and then the top. So I'm just going to look down because that's where my mirror is, and I'm going to start at the front of the brow super lightly, just kind of creating like my outline. And as you can see, it's not super dark, super opaque. I mean, it is dark, don't get me wrong, but it's not like really, really dark. So I just tapped my brush in there for some more product, and I'm just kind of following like the shape of my brows already. And then making sure this is like the shape that I'm kind of wanting for my brows. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. I just have my brow underlined, and then I'm gonna go ahead and line out the top of the brow. Again, remembering to only just lightly tap in there for product. And then starting a little bit off from the front of the brow, so not starting directly at the front on the top line. So here's the front of my brow right here, and I'm starting applying product here, so a little bit off to the side, and I'm just doing these short strokes, going back in my product and gently tapping in there to get more product when needed. And then I feel like the most crucial part of doing an eyebrow is making sure that you kind of are creating an arch. Sometimes if you just make your brows too straight, they look crazy, unless that's the look you're going for. That's not the look that I'm going for, but just throwing that out there. But I feel like it's nice to have a brow with an arch. You can do like a rounder brow, but that's not really my thing. So I kind of just want to make sure that I have an arch. And the arch of your brow, if you take like your brush, like this obviously is the beginning, and you want your arch to be right here. So basically lining up with the end of your nostril over your pupil. And that will tell you like where the arch of your brow should be. And then of course here is telling you where the end of your brow should be. So just going back in and making sure I have my shape outlined there. All right, so here is brow one. So I have kind of like my rough draft, or like my sketch of what I want my brow to look like. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other brow too, because with this, I like to kind of get both of my outlines together so I can make sure that they kind of match, and then fill in from there. Because I don't want to go ahead and fill in this whole brow and then do this brow and then they both look completely different and they look like they're not even related. So again, dipping into my product and then starting at the bottom, creating my outline, and then again, short strokes. And then making sure I'm just using all of the products on my brush before dipping back in. All right, so we got the outline done on the bottom, and then of course, starting on the top, a little bit off from the front, and kind of creating that arch. and then dragging it down to the tail. Okay. All right, so here we have our 2 outlines for the brows. So at this point, I like to just double check and see like, okay, is this the shape that I'm wanting? And it looks like they're kind of matching for the most part. Yeah, looks like they're matching for the most part, enough for me to go ahead and fill them in. So again, tapping into the product. And then I don't start at the front filling in. I start a little bit off from the front. So just starting off here, filling in the brow. And it's okay if you mess up because we will clean up anything with concealer. So now that the brow for the most part is filled in, what I like to do is take whatever is left on the brush and then go ahead and fill in the front of the brow. And then also what I like to do is, instead of going side to side with the front, I'll go up. So right now, just going side to side, go working my way like inward. And then once I get to the front of the brow, that's when I'm going to start brushing up. And that's kind of how you get like that faded look with your brow, because you're starting basically with the darkest, or because you're starting with like the most pigment or concentration like towards the center of your brow, and then kind of going lighter towards the front. And that's what's gonna really give you that fade and make it look a little bit more natural. I mean, granted, these brows don't look that natural, but as natural as they can get. So here is what the first brow looks like, and I feel like it looks pretty good. I think I want to give it a little bit more of an arch. So what I do is I take my brush and I just take it on the side and tap it in. And then I just lay the brush on its side and then make sure I just kind of create that arch that I want. Okay, all right, so here is our first brow, and I feel like that looks pretty good, although I'm like, I don't know if that arch like is too high compared to this one, but we'll see when we fill this one in, and then we'll make any adjustments from there before we go ahead and clean anything up. So again, just tapping in the product, starting off more to the middle of the brow and filling that in first. And then now working our way to the front. And now that we're at the front of the brow, we are just going to flick upward to fill it in and give more of the gradient effect. All right, so now I'm gonna take a little bit more of my product and just do like any fine tuning. All right, so this is how both brows are looking. And I feel like we're looking pretty good. Let me get my little hand mirror and see. Yeah, I feel like the brows are starting to look pretty good. So I know I still look a little crazy, but we're gonna go ahead and take our concealer. And of course, this is the Nars Soft Matte Complete Concealer. And I am taking our flat brush and I'm going to coat the brush with the concealer on both sides ever so slightly. And then I'm going to take my flat brush and I'm going to start actually at the beginning of the brow. And I like to raise my brows up, which is why it's like super important that you make sure you set your forehead, or else you'll get like crazy creases up there in your makeup. But I like to raise my brows up and start at the center. And I like to do very small strokes and just make sure I'm getting like a nice straight line. And then once I get near the arch, I'm kind of going, instead of doing this motion, I'm kind of bringing it kind of around to give me that arch. And once I've done that, then I kind of go again and do like those straight lines, if that makes sense. All right, and now I'll just make sure I go over any parts and make sure that line is as straight and crisp as I can get it. So here's how the brow looks. I just took the concealer, cleaned it up, and what I'm gonna do is take my brush and I'm just going to drag that concealer down onto the eyelid. And then what I like to do is take my finger and kind of blend that out. And the reason I like to use my finger is because it really warms up the product and it gives it more of like a seamless effect. All right, so this is how our brow is looking, and I think it looks pretty good. So I also, if you want to, you can do another step. I'm not going to do this step, and I rarely ever do this step, but I don't like to clean up the top of my brows because I feel like it looks a little bit more natural, I guess, if I don't clean it up. But if my brows are like super mismatched, then that's when I'll go ahead and clean it up out of necessity. But if you want to, you can go ahead if you want them to be more sharp and crisp. I personally just like to clean up on the bottom. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other brow, and again, I am dipping into my concealer, coating my brush on both sides, starting at the beginning of the brow, lifting up my eyebrows, and just doing small strokes side to side, and then kind of comparing to make sure like my both eyebrows are starting at the same height. All right, and then we're doing that round motion here around the arch to give it a little bit more definition, and then going more in a straight line to clean up the tail. All right, so this is what our brow looks like, and I'm gonna go ahead and drag that concealer down and then clean it, well, not clean it up, but blend it in with my finger, that same finger I used on the other side. So again, dragging it down. And then blending it with the brush as much as possible. Then taking my finger and just blending that in. So this is how the brows are looking, and I think they look actually pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now, and this step of course is optional, I'm gonna take my Benefit Precisely my brow pencil, and then any areas where I feel like it might be missing a little product, I'm just gonna fill in. So there's just like a teeny bit right here that's missing, and just filling that part in, and then a little bit right there to define the top of the brow a little bit more, and that is it. So these are the brows right here, and there are a couple other optional steps that you can take. So sometimes if I feel like my brows are a little bit too dark, I like to take a little bit of setting powder and press that into the brows, and then go on top of that with my clear brow gel. And I think I'm actually gonna do that here. So what I do is take my setting powder, and then I just take a brush. It doesn't really matter like what type of brush. Like it could be a fluffy brush, it could be a small brush, a big brush. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna use this Morphe E14 brush right here. I'm just going to tap that into the powder, and then I'm just gonna tap on top of my brows. And I feel like this just lightens them a little bit, but also like sets them at the same time. So I love doing this step if I know that I am like going out, or I'm gonna be out for a long time, and I wanna make sure my brows like stay in place as long as possible. And then also look a little bit more natural. Okay, so here is how the brows look with that setting powder added to them. And then just to finish up, I'm gonna go ahead and take my Charlotte Tilbury Clear Brow Gel and brush through the brows to make sure they are nice and set. And I really like this brow gel because I really like the wand on this one. And then also what I find to be super like helpful about using clear brow gel when you are using this pomade is it really just defines those brow hairs and brings them out a little bit more, which I feel like helps make the brows look more believable, I guess. I mean, because again, these aren't like the most natural brows on the planet, but you still want them to look like you got hair. Like you don't want them to look like two Sharpie marks that went across your face. So, all right, so here is my completed look. I just went ahead and finished my look off camera. I did my eyes and lips, so I wasn't looking crazy with just a brow and like complexion on. But I feel like everything looks super cohesive. The brows look good. Like they don't look like too much, but they look like just enough to kind of tie together with the look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, obviously give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure that you're subscribed to my channel, especially if you made it this far in the video. You might as well subscribe. You made it all the way to the end. You enjoyed the tutorial, you learned something new. Just go ahead and subscribe. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and stay tuned for more content to come.